Are you sure you want to start streaming the live event? Yes. And we are live. Oh, this is the newest episode of Conjured Refreshments, people. I'm Michaelose. This is Mystic. Say hi, Mystic.
Hello.
And this is the latest episode, like I said before. So, Mystic, hit it.
All right, so this is episode 9 of Conjured Refreshments.
And that's our awkward intro, which makes things interesting every week.
We're going to talk about the 6.2 developer interview from 6/30/15, upcoming Ashran hotfixes, the 6.2 hotfixes for 7/1/15, and the latest 6.2 developer interview from today, 7/2/15. But before we get to any of that, Mike, what have you been up to these last 2 weeks?
Camping. It's pretty much been my week. Is camping and trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to be doing this month with all the crazy 4th of July going away party and moving excitement. And playing Castle Crashers with you.
Yes. Today I actually released, I don't know if you watched the video or not, I released a coming to a YouTube near you thing. And it was just our hell of a time getting the game to work for us, because you showed up twice in the character thing. But that will be coming out next week on my channel. Got 4 of the episodes rendered and edited, rendered, and all that fun stuff. What else have you been doing?
Eating those sandwiches. No, I've just been pretty much trying to plan out what I'm going to be doing this month. Mostly is because I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing this month, how I'm going to do things. So if anyone has any suggestions, please say it in the comment section below. Nah, I did my update video, which is on my channel right now. And if you do have suggestions, go ahead and go over there and leave the comments for what you think I should do. But mostly I'm just going to be doing random videos, probably try and get Mystic do a lot more co-op stuff that I could just throw at my channel. We have to do Terraria again.
Yeah,
we have to do Terraria again. We have Steam sale games that we bought for co-op stuff.
Dragon
Hero Siege. Yep. Hero Siege and lots of great stuff to co-op.
Mm-hmm. And I enjoy co-oping with you. It's fun. It's a different mindset with someone like you opposed to some other people I play with. Because granted, we're good friends. We think a lot alike, but at the same time, we think differently.
Yeah. And some games you're the expert, some games I'm the expert. There's that dynamic.
Yep. That works out really well.
Get to trade places being the noob.
At the end of the day, we're noobs in every game we play, basically. So,
no. We play a lot of games, but we're good at none.
Right? Is that all you've been up to?
Yep, pretty much. Mostly just being my casual self.
Bloody casual. Well, as Mike and myself talked about, this is the first podcast I'm doing in my new office. It's not 100% done yet. I still have to put up some bookshelves. I'm going to have LEDs running in this bookshelf, so I was waiting for stuff to come in, and they just came in the other day. I got to find time to work on that. I have a new mic and stuff coming, so that will help with the audio some.
What's wrong with the mic you have?
A couple years old. That, and I couldn't pass up a deal on Mass Drop, so It's one of those. You're usually you're an expensive mic. You're an expensive boost thingy majigger.
I'll take your old mic.
I actually have plans for that for the unboxing side of the disc, so maybe we'll see. I've just been did Castle Crashers with you. I tried to record some other games that I got during the Steam sale, like playthroughs and stuff. The problem is, a lot of them don't. Not good for playthroughs, in my opinion, but they're good for streams. And that's one thing I am trying to do more of. I'm trying to find that balance between streaming and editing videos.
Yeah, the other day I went through my Steam list and I went through each game like streamable, playthroughable, streamable, maybe play a few seconds of streamable.
Like, you got me that Mount Your Friends game. I don't even know what I'm going to do with that one. I don't know if I'm going to do a video on that or not.
It's a co-op.
Is it?
Co-op game. Yeah.
Is it? Well,
we grab each other's junk and climb using...
So you bought that game just so you could grab my junk in virtual reality?
Well, that is pretty much the game.
Mike, if you wanted to grab my junk, you could just say, "Hey, when I move closer to you, let's meet up so I can grab your junk." And I go, $50 and it's yours.
Climb your junk. We play two. Basically, what it is, we play two buff dudes, and we just keep climbing each other. And we were wearing Speedos. That's basically the game.
Nice. But, yeah, we did a couple hours of Castle Crashers last night. Got that all ready to go. You said we need more Terraria. I might need more Minecraft soon. We might have to work on that before you fail too.
Yep.
I don't know how much Minecraft you have left. Of course, you don't really put those on your channel, do you?
No, not really. It's harder for me to record them because my computer is just like, no, when I start recording. So, I will be trying to record some Rising World with my wife, though,
cool.
Which is kind of like Minecraft. So
cool.
Hopefully that records better than Minecraft does on my machine.
But other than that, I've just been watching anime, working on videos, looking for a job, all that fun stuff. You ready to get into our first topic?
Sure, why not?
All right. So I think it's this button to push. Yeah, it is.
Oh, wrong button.
Damn it! Reset the stream.
I don't know if it's wrong button or not because I'm still looking at 5 minutes ago, I think.
Well, I shared my screen with you so you can see what we're talking about.
I know. I'm talking about the actual stream that I'm viewing just in case someone talks to us.
So there was an interview on 6/30 of this year, and they went over some more stuff. Example rating. Hellfire Citadel is more linear, but it's still a choice and variety. I like that. It makes it feel more ICC-esque. When you first walked in ICC, you had to do 4 bosses before you could branch off in different directions. Yeah. It'd be 4 bosses. And having to do X amount of bosses first, no problem. However, you can do a quest like the Well of Souls and allow you to skip parts of it after you killed a few bosses a few times. I think that's another cool thing because that will help out with progression. My problem with blocking the raid ID if we want to fight this boss, and we fight him and we get him down, but next boss we can't get down. I like this idea of being able to go back and do the other bosses. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Mythic Archimon. Interesting, unexpected things happening once he's at low health. That's cool. Not being able to know exactly what happens at first is cool. I kind of do miss that from when I was doing progression rating, walking in a boss for the first time, not knowing what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Besides what you did in the PTR or what you saw from the PTR. But as we all know, PTR isn't set in stone, so stuff always changes.
Yeah. Plus, when you're doing something on mythic difficulty, it feels like you should get maybe a little bit more than the other difficulties get. Mm-hmm. Just because you're doing it at a higher difficulty, and there needs to be some sort of payoff for that. And that feels like him doing random stuff at lower health feels like a good way to do that.
Mm-hmm. I like there's no requirement to have to kill him on heroic and or mythic, because, like you said, in the past, people would bring someone who has already killed the boss on that difficulty to do the next one.
And sometimes you get groups that are specifically looking for that person that's cleared.
Mm-hmm. I know I used to, once I'd done Lich King, there was raids I would go on just because I downed the Lich King so they could do the heroic loot ship. Hell, when we did 25-man back in the day, we found people who had killed the Lich King in 25-man. We could do a heroic loot ship to get that gear. Because it was a joke. I like the fact that they decided to change who the end boss was.
Yeah, for it to feel better from the lore.
Yeah. And I like the, is Gul'dan dead or alive? I like the, that's a good question part.
Come on, we know he's alive.
He has to be, come on.
It's not much of a mystery there.
Nope.
I did notice a lot of people on their Twitter were yelling at him because the whole Gromosh part.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, now he's buddy-buddy with the Draenei all of a sudden, and I actually kind of agree with what they did. Because tactically, it makes sense that the Draenei would align with them anyway. I mean, it's the Burning Legion. Come on.
Right.
The Alliance and Horde are supposed to be doing this too, if we want to beat them. So, but
you want to take on the legendary items topic?
Sure.
Oh, yours, Mike.
First thing is, once you have the legendary ring, the crystallized fel will drop from Archimon on normal or greater difficulty, and it'll scale up the proc and stats. And I feel like that's a good thing, because that just means as you go through, you're constantly getting more and more powerful. So that's always a good thing. It gives you more reason to go through and all that. And legendary quests previously required you get 900 legendary quest items. 900 sounds like such a big number.
Well, we did it. We've already done that part. If you got your current ring, you did a 900 part.
Yeah, but that's what I mean is it still seems like such a big number. But they've decreased it to 33, or this time around. So that's a good thing if you're trying to catch up, I guess.
But the current start part of the quest line, you only have to get 33, but it won't drop off of every boss like it was in the past.
Yeah, but I feel like it maybe increases the speed just a little bit, but like not a huge amount, depending on your luck, obviously. Yeah.
And
if you're super lucky, then
I also wonder with this, because if you have a character that's already done the quest, when you take your ult through, they get it faster. Are we going to get it faster with our ult on this, or are they going to keep it at 33 and not always dropping for your ult.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've barely even done it on my main. But I maybe should try and get on that, but
Yeah, you should.
The incentive isn't really there.
I want you to do it, Mike. Do it for me.
What else? Most players should be able to collect all the Tomes of Chaos in a month or so. Seems like good pacing to me.
Yeah, it is. I like it.
Raid loot from garrison missions was exciting, but it devalued participation in the actual raids and undercut the reward structure. Agreed. When guilds finally moved into a mythic Blackrock Foundry later in the raiding cycle, they already had several mythic items from garrison missions already, so it wasn't as rewarding as it should have been. Agreed.
Well, I agree with what he's saying here, but I don't agree with taking it away. I say if you're working on normal, mythic, heroic, whatever, then that's the stuff that should drop for you from these missions.
Yeah. I think he's talking about you were able to get one higher than what you're working on.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. I don't like the idea of them taking it away completely.
Yeah.
Like, you won't be able to get.
I thought I read something about the shipyard missions were able to get it.
Yeah, but they're not going to be doing it as frequently and whatnot.
Oh.
I
haven't logged into the game since 6.2, so.
I liked every 2 weeks knowing I can get a piece of gear that may or may not be better for me, but it was something for me to look forward to with the garrison missions. And now with the shipyard. Taking it away, I don't know why I'm going to touch the mission table or the shipyard, except for to progress my legendary quest line.
Yeah, and money. Unless you have too much money, then. They even nerfed that a little bit too, so.
They did. You can continue.
The next thing they mentioned was bosses that dropped tokens in previous tiers dropped too many loot items in total. As the token items were separate from the normal list, the team changed how the tier tokens were dropped in 6.2, but by the time they realized the bosses were not dropping enough tokens, it was too late. And will be hotfixed for the new raid reset. Well, at least they're hotfixing.
How do you miss that,
still.
though?
Yeah, I don't.
You have a whole
Not
team.
enough people in the public test realm.
You have to have a QA team of your own to catch stupid stuff like that. And you can't even blame on the PTR on this one, because raids are not always open on the PTR.
Yeah, it's
They're
like
only open during
cycles
certain
or something.
Yeah. This one definitely should have been caught by the internal QA.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know what QA is, quality assurance.
But at least they're fixing it. Like, there's only been one raid week where it hasn't been fixed. It could have been worse. It's not acceptable, but it could have been worse, I guess.
If this is the worst thing they've done, I don't care, but it's not.
Yeah.
They've done worse. They've done much worse.
It's just like a little oops moment for them compared to what else they've done.
Right?
Oops. Let's try that again, this time without the oops. And finally, there was figuring out how the old legendary items would fit into current itemization, class balance, and how the game works today is challenging. I kind of agree with that. Creating a legendary weapon that only works for some classes and specs wouldn't work well. In a way, I kind of agree with that, given what's happened in the past with legendary items that are class specific. It usually causes problems, especially in PvP, where that class has this advantage all of a sudden, and it creates an imbalance in PvP for a little bit for people who have it. Even though a small amount of people have it, you run into those people and it doesn't feel very good. So I kind of agree with them there.
Yeah, and I as a guild master and as a raider, I like the fact that I can help gear up this person for this weapon to make the team stronger. But as a player, I hate okay, we gotta go kill this boss nobody needs any loot off of, because Billy Bob over here needs the legendary ingot off of him to complete his legendary.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
Yeah. Kind of like players being personally responsible for their own legendaries too, to an extent. Like, you don't really rely on the rest of the raid to help you out with it, other than maybe the menial stuff like the rogue legendary required a certain sum of gold. And I could see stuff like that as an acceptable way for the guild to kind of help out. But
well, you know how we have now where you right-click on an item and it converts it to an item?
Yeah.
I'd be okay with us having to, as a group, kill bosses and everybody gets it. To make, it's like a puzzle. You got to get these pieces to make this part. And they can right-click on it and, oh, you made a hilt. Or you made the lower half of a staff. Or you made the button of a gun. Now you gotta collect more and make the whatever. That would be cool in my opinion. That way the entire group is now benefiting from it.
Yeah.
And you want to have it where, like it was back in the old days where you had to get the item, you had to give it to somebody. Let everybody get it, but then have like one or two pieces where the raid leader can do a roll-off for it or whatever. Or, you know what? I want our healers to be OP first. Pass it to our strongest healer. Or I want our tanks to be strong first. Give it to the tanks.
Yeah, little strategy involved.
Yeah.
A little bit of that strategy.
I think something like that would work out really well.
Yeah.
Ready to move on to Time Walker?
Let's do it.
The time walking, the dungeons are easier on purpose, but that is a part of the classes. And I saw this coming when everybody first talked about it, with scaling you down, but not scaling down your abilities. Some classes scale down better than others. Right now in the BC dungeons, a Master Monk destroys everything. Shadow Priest destroys everything.
During that time, the monks didn't even exist.
Right.
Or the Death Knights.
Mm-hmm. And, excuse me. Another example is the old Shattered Halls. They have a prot warrior tank with no AoE, threat just tab, and Sundering. Us now having AoEs to go into these dungeons makes stuff easier. So, Time Walker isn't supposed to be a, oh my god, this is hard. What it's designed to be, and what I haven't seen happen yet in all the Time Walkers I've ran, is level 100s scaling down to help level for BC 71 up to gear and get through the dungeons.
Yeah, and the gear up vaults and stuff.
Yeah. All I've ever seen is all of 100s going into these. And that's a byproduct of Blizzard giving the new raid token away by doing 5 time walking dungeons. So it's not working out the way it was intended, but it's still cool to take people and go do these old dungeons. For example, this past
nostalgia value.
Last weekend I took Xynthia and Aurora through this to help them gear up for raiding with us. Yeah, I can take them through Mythic, but they don't have the gear level yet for Mythic dungeons. I'll get to Mythics later because, oh my god. He said some time walking dungeons are a bit too easy. There are some that are too easy, but at the same time, are they too easy because you have the A group with you, or are they too easy because they're just not attuned correctly? Because if I take group A with me, I expect stuff to be easier. I really hope we're not basing this "it's too easy" off of people who are taking the 18.
The best geared players of their guild.
Yeah.
Mow it down.
I think the best geared. Gear does have a lot to do with it, but it's also the player as well. A good player under geared can and will outperform a geared bad player. I know we both have seen this.
Yeah.
Like they would like to expand time walking into Cataclysm dungeons and expand the number of BC and Wrath. I'm not a fan of them doing for the Cataclysm because I didn't like the Cataclysm dungeons at all.
Yeah, some of them are just
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind seeing break yourselves upon my body again.
And I agree with the trying to figure out where time walking raids will fit in as a reward structure, because if you already have that large group of people with you, go run Hellfire, go run Blackrock. Now I can see on the flip side of going, we ran this already. We don't have any more to run this week on this, but we want to run ICC for cool gear. You know, to be current-ish. And for nostalgia. I see both sides of that, but depending on how long it would take, I'd prefer them to work on making this time-walking thing work for outside of a dungeon. Like I said before, going and helping a new person, your friend who just started playing WoW.
Yeah.
Going down to help them do quests.
Do they, I haven't done time walking yet, so I don't know. Do the achievements for that dungeon count when you're doing a time walking version, or do you know?
Yes, it does. Since I never did any of the EC stuff on Heroic, everyone we ran, I got the Heroic achievement for it.
So that's kind of a nice little thing that's part of it. If you don't want to go back and just mow through it, you can always be like, I'll just queue up for it and get the achievements.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since you have to go all the way to Outland to get to the other way.
I would like to see them also, like the items you get for bosses scale up. I'd like them to see it for the greens that drop as well. Not so much for the gearing aspect, but for the disenchanting aspect. Right now I run a Time Walker. Any gear I get, I can DE it, and I have the current Mansion's mats. I would love to have the greens do the same thing. That would solve the beginning of Warlords. We had an issue with mat for dust for enchanters. There wasn't enough around. And the past expansions, you would level up your enchanting as a byproduct of your tailoring or your blacksmithing or your leatherworking, because you were making greens to level up. And I understand that wasn't a fun gameplay aspect. That's what they said. I agree there. However, we had a real issue with not getting dust in the beginning of the expansion. I think if Time Walker is going to continue to be a thing, that's something they should look into.
Yeah.
Wow, so much input there. Yeah.
My wife is touching me.
Leave me alone.
She's like reaching over here trying to tickle me and stuff, so I had to mute the mic for a minute.
Well, that's our show for tonight, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Take care of naval missions.
Actually,
while you do that, I'm going to take a phone call.
Well, I haven't really done any naval missions, but here we go. If you fail a naval mission, the mission will still be there after you try again. I guess that's okay.
No, you lose a ship if you fail.
Well, you lose a ship, but... there aren't any plans to reduce the cost of naval equipment right now. I don't know what the cost of naval equipment is right now, but the team is keeping an eye on how players are using the item. players want to maximize their chance of success on every mission, but the team envisioned players just countering the basic type of ships and some of the threats, but not every single threat. Can kind of understand that because it kind of adds a little taste of reality there. And tacticalness and all that makes it slightly, very, very slightly more interesting than the followers. So the player feels that 500 resources are worth it for a small boost in success chance in every mission, and actually buy the equipment. Adjusting costs may be possible. Oh, so it's 500 resources. Okay. Which is nothing to get. So they may adjust the costs if possible.
I agree with what you just said. Are you done yet?
Yeah, I pretty much just sped through it because I know nothing about naval missions, so I haven't done any yet.
All right.
Pretty much after the follower thing, it just naval missions do not really pique my interest enough for me to actually bother. I'm sure they're interesting in their own right, but I'm so burned out on everything Garrison that just I don't do it anymore.
The problem I have with naval missions is when you were doing your follower stuff, they gave you more information on how to do stuff, and I just feel the information given to you by naval missions isn't there.
Yeah, I think my wife got lost on something with the naval missions. Couldn't figure something out. Can't remember what it was.
It says like upgrade your garrison, upgrade your shipyard, but it doesn't tell you how to do it in game. You have to go to Wahhead or something. We're past the point of needing to build a Thoughtbot to figure stuff out. So,
Thoughtbot it.
Yeah, right? So we need to do a better job of conveying inside the game for naval missions on what the hell to do. Honestly, it feels like naval missions were just rushed. The shipyard was just a rushed thing.
I still say they should have just done naval combat. It's like build your own ship, abort it, and go fight other players or NPCs or something on your ship.
Did you say abort it or go aboard it?
Go aboard it.
Like, I thought you were going build your own ship and then abort it. Kill it.
I just think it'd be way more interesting if they had spent a little more time on it and instead made it where you actually had a process where you create a ship and you could actually go aboard it, and then you kind of move it across the waters of Draenor, and maybe there's NPC ships and you have access to abilities like fire cannonballs or broadside or stuff like that to attack the enemy ships, and then that'd be a much cooler way. I think that would have been more interesting. But
yeah,
and there's other MMOs that have done naval combat, so it's not like it's something that's totally impossible. I mean, even the MMO that you hate does naval combat. The MMO which shall not be named.
The feedback. The team hears the feedback about the solo play from Mist, and it's lacking in Draenor. It's not so much lacking in Draenor as the stuff that's there to do is not fun, like we said before. Just going and doing Apex things as a solo thing, not fun. Hell, for the flying achievement, I ran around discovering areas I never found before just so I could get that achievement done. And that was boring as hell.
I'm pretty much ready to go on the flying achievement other than the reputations.
I gotta find treasures. I gotta do some Apex daily bullshit stuff. I gotta do reputations, and I haven't been in Tanan for like 4 days because I don't like that place.
Well, at least it helps that it counts what you do on your ults a little bit. I think just because you can go on your horde ult if you haven't leveled up horde yet, and you could just do all that stuff while you're leveling your horde ult or something. But it still would have been nice if they told you about it before the expansion started. But obviously, it wasn't something well, I mean, if they had that information at the start of the expansion, then people could have kept that in mind while they were first leveling, and it probably would have been a lot more interesting. But obviously, they couldn't do that because they just now made the decision. So at least next expansion, we know this is what we need to do while we're leveling. So it'll make it a little easier. But right now, it's like you just dropped the bomb on us, and it's like, what? I haven't even done these things. Screw you, Blizzard.
Yeah, because I stopped doing the stupid Apex daily things once I got my ring. You like that 4,000 some Apex crystals? Yeah, I did it till I got enough for the ring, and I just stopped.
I can't even bring myself to do those for the ring. That's how bad they are. Now I look at the Apex daily, and this is what I do. Like what I did after doing the Apex daily for a few times, I started to get into the point where I would go in my garrison, see the daily, pick it up, stare at the quest for an hour or so, and then grind my teeth for a minute, rage quit, abandon the quest, log off. That's how infuriatingly boring it was to do. I would rather log off and sit in my chair and do nothing than do the Apex dailies. That's one of the reasons why I'm behind on my ring.
They're talking about part of the problem is there's so many rewards. Yeah, part of the problem was there's so many rewards moved from the world to the garrison. I agree and disagree at the same time. Yes, there was a lot of rewards you got from just being in your garrison. However, this is a 10-year-old game. As you should know, players will take the path of least resistance. So they should have put more rewards in the world opposed to in the garrison. You still have those rewards in the garrison, but you can get a 550 item from your mission table, or go do this zone event over here that's not Apex crystal bullshit and get a 600 item.
Yeah.
Something like that, you know?
Yeah, and especially when they put that gear tied to Apex crystals. And with the way the Apex crystal daily is at the time, like when the game launched and all that, it's like, okay, do I do the worst grind ever created in World of Warcraft to get this gear off this vendor that sucks, or just wait for the mission to come up? That was another thing I sort of wrestled with. I kind of want this gear, but it's like maybe if it was mythic raid gear for the current raid out, then maybe I would submit myself to this torture. But it's like I've been saying ever since this started, and every time I do a video on other MMOs, is instead of making grindy content, make interesting and engaging content instead, and your players will choose to do that content and will actually enjoy it. But it seems every MMO, even WoW, has this tendency to knee-jerk reaction, go for grindy over interesting.
Right.
It's like WoW is like the perfect example is Cataclysm. They revamped the leveling content for lower levels, and like 90% of those quests are interesting quests that are actually cool or have some flair to them that makes them interesting and makes people actually want to do them. And then an expansion or two later, they're bringing in like the Apex daily quest where it's so grindy, and it's like, you know better because you've proven you know better, and that's the frustrating part about it. It's like you're the guys that made the quest the day Deathwing came. You're the ones that made that quest where the little ball rolls over the gnomes, which is funny as shit. You're the guys that made the whole Western Plaguelands or Eastern Plaguelands, whichever Plaguelands it is with Fiona. You made that whole Fiona quest line, and then you're gonna give me all these grindy, kill this, kill that, boring ass quests and fill the blue bar stuff, and tell me this is the best you have. And it's like, no, this is not acceptable anymore. You set a standard with your revamp of leveling. And that's one of the things that frustrates me the most about it all, is Blizzard has proven they know better. Anyway, end rant. End angry rant. Get your pitchforks.
They're taking steps. They took steps in patch 6.2 to make it more rewarding to be out in the world in Tanan. They plan to do that in the future content. They still need to work on it because I'm not having fun in Tanan. It's go pick up these X amount of quests, go to these zones, kill these things, come back. Yeah.
Well, there's a difference between the word more rewarding and more fun.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's what they're doing. Is just like they're saying it's more rewarding to be out in the world, which means they don't have to say it's more fun. So
you do. You do get better gear from killing some of the mobs out there. Like I got a staff that dropped. It was like, you're 650. Oh look, now it's a 680 something. Like, yay! I'm still killing these guys, getting Apex crystals, and not having fun.
Yeah, it's like more rewarding, but there's no fun. There's no engaging content. There's no interesting quests.
The teams are working on Hellfire Citadel and Jungle since November of 2014. They were limited to how they could respond to more recent feedback. A lot of stuff that we're seeing is wrong with Tanan right now. We said a month after the expansion dropped.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
kind of makes me wonder how long do we actually see our feedback take effect in this scenario? Because if they were working on a November 2014, then does that mean we have to wait a year for our feedback to actually be heard? And when we make more feedback, each time we make feedback, we have to wait another year for that particular feedback. And it feels like that's too long to wait for your feedback to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's understandable why players are thinking that Blizzard isn't listening when they're taking that long to address any feedback. But
and again, even if you were working on that long ago, the feedback that was being given after the first month of the expansion, it wasn't too deep into being able to go, oh god, okay guys, from this point forward we gotta do this now instead of this. And if there's time, we'll go back and fix this.
Yeah.
But you don't just go, well, we've been working on it for a couple months now, so screw what they said. We'll just fix it down. We'll make next patch better. No.
Yeah. Yeah. That is one of the problems that I kind of see with Blizzard right now with the way they're doing things. Is I'm kind of wondering if they're reaching too far into the future and it's affecting the here and now. Like they're not paying enough attention to the here and now. Like they say, we're already working on the expansion after the next. Like I've heard them say that every now and then. And it's like, really? You really want to reach that far into the future when you're not even sure that you have a good game right now? Like I'd understand if they found the absolute perfect model for the game, if everything was just awesome, then yeah, work on it years ahead and we'll make complaints after that. But I feel like they're stretching too far out there with their current way of working on these expansions. And it feels like they need to maybe dial it back a little bit and kind of at least have a team that has their head in the present and not in the future. Because it's like when I was writing, I used to write like stories, like I used to try and write books and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend that was taking a creative writing class. And I kept telling him all these plans I had for the future of my books, like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take it to here, and then it's going to here. And he just was like, whoa, no. Don't plan so far ahead because you may need to change the story a little bit later because it feels more natural to go this way instead of that way or something like that. And I feel that kind of works for game development too. If you go too far ahead, then it maybe makes it harder for them to change the story like midway. Like plans change and stuff. Maybe this direction isn't working, so now they plan so far ahead thinking this direction, and then they find out, oh, it's not working, so now what do they do with the plans ahead? Do they just keep going until they catch up and then change direction? And that's the worry I have with it, with them working ahead so much. I get that it brings the content out faster, but I'd rather have quality content than more frequent content.
Right.
Like, there's a balance that I feel like they haven't really reached.
Right. And that goes along with the next thing. 6.2 content was designed the same model as the original Warlords. That's why I feel like the team wants to listen to feedback, even though they are. Again, we were talking about these issues early on. And something should have been rectified or changed or fixed.
Yeah.
Even if you had to push the patch out to fix our issues. I can't speak for everybody, but I don't think any player I know will be upset pushing out the patch to fix the issues we have.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather wait for a quality patch than quickly get a bunch of poor quality patches.
Mm-hmm. And they're saying the things that are being worked on now that will be much more the players liking, and teams taking the feedback to heart.
Yeah. And I believe there's another section where they bring up they don't want players to wait another year for the next expansion, but I feel like as long as you're releasing content that's interesting and engaging, all that, I don't mind waiting a year as long as it's for quality reasons. But
that's in the next interview. That's the last one we're going to cover.
Oh yeah, actually, I was wondering where I read that, but
I have a "I don't believe you" statement for that one.
Oh, yeah, I knew I read that, but I didn't know it was that recently. I have a lot of things I've read in my head that I don't know when I read it.
And then to close out with that interview, the patch 6.2.x with flying will be on the PTR with the next couple of weeks. It'll go live not months and months from now, but in a number of weeks, which is good because that was a lot of players' fears that they would just keep pushing that out. And if we can trust this statement, then that's good.
Yeah. I always kind of thought it would be a matter of weeks, not a matter of months anyway. It doesn't seem like something that really takes that much work. I could see it taking some work, but I never really felt like it was going to be something they could easily delay.
Right. And then there's no current plan to make the baleful items account-wide right now. But it's something that they're discussing because, yeah, if you're taking your main, which you're going to do, to Tanan to do all this current content, so you can open up the shipyard to get to the new raid, if it's not useful for you, it's not good. And that, I don't know how that made it past. I understand not wanting to make it too hard, especially for people who need to get the gear, but you said before you see more and more people raiding now, therefore the stuff that's dropping there won't be as good for the player who's going in there. Yeah. If I took my paladin there, the gear would probably be better for her. If I took any of my other 100s, it would definitely be better because they're still in heirloom gear or normal dungeon gear.
Yeah. Plus, it feels like a change that would have been. It feels like one of those changes would have been better to do it before than after, because now, if they do it now, then people possibly have sold or destroyed the gear, and then when they make the change, those people are going to be pissed because I didn't know you were going to make it account wide. Damn it, I deleted all this gear.
Yeah.
So I feel like they should have caught that sooner. Just made things easier.
I had to eat all that stuff.
Yeah, and because they didn't catch it sooner, that's the consequence to that. It's something they should never have made it past testing.
Now, I'm not as upset about that because you know, I had the mats, I give enchants to the guild. That's always good to have. For me to be able to do DE stuff, to have the mats on me to, here's the newest weapon enchant you need. And now we're coming to the part of the discussion where I shut up and you talk.
The hotfix changes to the Ashran.
EGP.
it's nothing too major. The most significant thing to me anyway is the new buff, but for that I'll just talk about they're reducing it to 40 for the raid, and to me personally that makes sense just because now you have one single raid group. Like they said, before it was multiple raid groups, and now you can just have one single raid group. And it also, there's more individual instances of it going on and all that. But I don't think that one really affects it too much. Like, it's not a major effect or change. It just sort of changes the size of how many people are there. But may make it feel a little more empty than it was. But it's something we'll have to see how it goes. But the more major one is it's the buff that kind of makes it go back and forth more. And it's if you keep losing, you start getting a buff that stacks up to 10 times. And then when you start winning, it slowly dies down. And to me personally, it kind of feels like an artificial way to make the battle feel like it's going back and forth. And it feels like it could have one of those effects where it's like a bunch of bad players on one side just keep playing and losing until finally they just overwhelm them with the buff. And it just feels very, very artificial back and forth. But for fairness, I could definitely see it as a good change, because to be fair, it's more fair that it goes back and forth, because that gives everyone an equal opportunity. Whereas the other way, like the Alliance could dominate Ashran for hours and hours and hours. And that doesn't really seem fair for the Horde, who are trying to gear up. So fairness and convenience, I think it's serves, but I personally don't like the feel of the artificial back and forth. I'd rather the back and forth be more based on the groups and stuff and strategy. But again, it's just like Battlegrounds with a bunch of random people. There's no strategy. So, but as far as the other changes they made, they did also make changes outside the hotfix where it encourages both sides to actually fight each other. Whereas before it's, our team will kill this rare while your team plays this event, and you get both teams get the same reward. No one fights each other. So they did make the quests where you have to kill 200 people, other people, and you have to complete the events and kill the boss. And that actually creates more fighting between the Horde and the Alliance, which is kind of the point of a battleground, which is basically what it is. It's a glorified battleground right now. I know they had other plans for it, but at this point, it's a glorified battleground. But overall, I don't see any reason to be super mad about this change. I don't feel any reason to get your torches and pitchforks about it. And it's one of those changes you kind of got to see how it does in live and how it works out. But for the most part, I don't think it really makes it any more fun, but I also don't think it makes it any more boring or anything. If anything, it makes it more playable to get your gear and stuff, because now you know at some point your team's going to win. And at some point their team's going to win. But I do feel like some players may wait a little while and probably ask people that are in Ashran, what's the buff right now? What's the buff right now? But
yeah.
But those people are just, they're going to do that anyway, no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. Who's strongest right now? Who's winning? Oh, I'll come in. But so I think mostly it just helps with the faction imbalances and stuff, which isn't by numbers, obviously, because there's the same number of people on both sides. But I mean, like gear and all that. Because obviously people with low gear are going to be in there and people with high gear are going to be there. The team with the more people with higher gear, obviously, is going to win without this buff. So if the Alliance happened to be geared out the ass that day, then obviously they're going to dominate for a little while. Except that buff now changes that. So it kind of evens the footing a little bit.
Really?
Obviously, Ashran's a longer battleground, so like normal battlegrounds, they're pretty quick for the most part, so they don't really need something like this. But Ashran's much longer because it's persistent and all that, so that's another way it helps. But yeah, I think that's about all for that.
All right. Hotfixes from yesterday, 7-1. Just going to go over these real quick. We got another interview to go through. The Tier 2-3 small building plots now work normal if the player skipped completing the Tier 1 tutorial quest. I can't believe it took this long to do the fix on that. Hell, I didn't even know that was an issue.
Me either.
Shipyard long naval missions have been reduced to 18 hours or less. I prefer the long naval missions where I can go set and not come back till next day or later. And be able to get it.
I feel like regular missions should be that way. Just set them, come back tomorrow.
The raid type naval missions have been reduced to 2 days to 4 hours. Golden Apex rewards increased. Okay, I'm cool with that. But that kind of offsets your nerfing of the gold missions on the mission table.
Yeah. But we'll nerf the gold missions on the mission table, but the naval missions will offer more gold.
Right?
Yeah, that's how we're gonna do it.
They're increasing the oil cost for missions, which, meh. Your mission table gives you so many quests for oil, it's not even funny. The amount we receive from oil rig has been doubled. There you go. Blah blah blah. Questing. Items. Dungeons. Enter and leaving a time marker dungeon no longer removes tracking auras. Oh, that was an issue, huh? A raid boss now shields after becoming active. Just an intended mechanic that wasn't working apparently. I like the Archimon will not heal for 5% of his health if this ability hits fewer than 3 people. If that's how the ability was intended and people were using clever game mechanics to avoid that, now you're forcing it down, I'm cool with it. How the hell do you say that? Kazaka?
Kazakh?
Yeah.
Kazakh.
You can now get that Guild Run achievement.
Yay!
Yeah. The Call to Arms no longer Call to Arms buff you get from your garrison no longer taunts bosses. I'm not 100% on that one. I can see it being useful, especially if the boss can if the tank has to face the boss away from the group or whatever, and you pop that and it turns it to the group. I can see it being stupid because you're going to have a troll. You always have a troll. You're my troll in my raid, so.
Trolls will be trolls.
Mm-hmm. There's some bug fixes. Meh. Developer interview from today. They plan for Hellfire Citadel to be the last raid of the expansion. Bullshit.
Oh, noes.
Wrap things up, and it's hard to beat Archimon. That will be nerfed. Player slots in, and it's wrapping back around. That's cool. But the content into Nan is not cool. Anything that happens now between now and whatever team does next, anything can happen, sorry. But Hellfire Citadel is the pinnacle of what the players are getting to. Lies. There isn't anything announced about future patches, but part of that comes down to how patch 6.2 plays out. Lies. All right. So let me go over these points. Hellfire Citadel is currently planned to be the last raid of the expansion. I've said it before, it's a smart business move to push the next expansion back to when the movie drops. However, if we're going to drop an expansion at BlizzCon, have it launching like a month later, that is going to be a very short expansion if they want to cash in on that cash crop is going to happen with the movie. At the same time, if this is the last raid and we don't hear anything before BlizzCon, that's still going to be a long ass time between expansions. Because even if they announce the raid, they didn't announce the raid well. If they announce the expansion at BlizzCon, you still have your beta testing to go through.
Yep.
In that last months. So unless they, a month from now go, okay, here's the next expansion, and closed beta starts next week.
Yep.
That's the only way this is going to work out, in my opinion.
Well, I still see him putting out another major patch, but not a raid patch, before BlizzCon or during BlizzCon or something like that. That can last us for a little bit, but I don't know.
And saying Archermon is a hard boss to beat as a final boss, great. We all know that'll be nerfed 2 months from now.
Yeah, probably.
What they'll say is the hardcore players got to see it, now we gotta make sure the casuals can beat it. Whatever. It was cool to see Tanan Jungle at the start and wrap him back around. That is cool. You can go to most of the places you were whenever you were first leveling in Warlords. That was cool. Again, anything can happen, but Hellfire is the pinnacle. I hope that's a don't look over here type deal. Like, yeah, this is the pinnacle. Oh, dun 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 dun. Here's a new raid. Shocker. And there isn't anything announced about future patches because it comes down to how 6.2 plays out. That contradicts what we learned in the other developer interview. 6.2 was started back in November 2014. Now they don't have anything in the pipelines? Really? Again, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's like the next bullet point down kind of worries me a little bit on what their plans might actually be.
Take it away then.
Well, they say some expansions had 4 big patches, some had 3. Warlords had 2 big patches, 6.1, 6.2. As team gets closer to hitting goal of a small gap between expansions, there will be less large patches each expansion. And that kind of worries me that possibly Blizzard's going to make a play to get more of our money. And it kind of gives me this feeling that they're setting up to try and release maybe 2 expansions a year or something. Like they're planning on just like rapid fire, just expansion, which each one costs about $40. And but I kind of wouldn't put it past them for those other statements to be true in the sense that they have another patch planned, but it's not a raid patch, but it does add enough content to keep us busy. And they maybe line it up close to BlizzCon, and then BlizzCon they announce the next expansion, and maybe they rush a beta out and possibly come out with the next expansion. And I could actually see them maybe one major patch in that expansion, then they go to the next expansion or something, which kind of worries me a little bit on what their business plans are right now of how they're going to do that, like what they're planning on doing for the future. And I kind of wish they would just stick with about 3 large patches at least per expansion, and because I feel like they need to space out the expansions at least a year apart, because it's $40 each time you buy one, which I don't really agree with that much. But obviously, they need to make money. But I feel like maybe $40 is a little much to ask for an expansion anyway. But if they're planning on rapid firing out these expansions all of a sudden, either they need to drop the price or it's going to become really hard for players to keep up, that like us who don't really have that much money. Because I'm like right now, I'm kind of at the point where will I have $40 for the next expansion? I don't know. So
if they start rapid firing expansions, they would have to lower the price. Or it's either that or they are trying to kill the IP.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like maybe they could go the route of DLC, where it's just really cheap expansion DLC, where it's like $10 or something, if they want to rapid fire.
Give them ideas on that shit.
But obviously not DLC for the patches themselves, but just if you want the expansion content, just make it really cheap, like a $10 thing to unlock all this expansion content. But all these statements that they're making right here at the start are kind of what worry me the most about the future of the game, because obviously everyone knows they're connected to Activision. And everyone knows Activision is a very greedy publisher. And I've always wondered how much of an effect Activision really has on Blizzard's I forget what it's called, the word for it is, but Blizzard's development model and all that. I always wondered what Activision has to say for things like how much the expansions cost and stuff. And again, everyone knows Activision is a pretty damn greedy company. Not as greedy as EA, of course, but EA is probably the top of the greedy companies. But all these statements, just they kind of make me uneasy for going into BlizzCon for what they might announce, because I can almost guarantee they are going to announce the next expansion at BlizzCon. It just worries me if they're going to start saying the next expansion, which will have one major raid patch, and then we'll go into the next one within the same year. And they announce it like it's a big thing, and everyone's like, what? They're both $40. What? I think that'd be a severely bad move for them if they made that move. Personally, I would like to see expansions last 3 major patches or major raid patches. And maybe 3 smaller patches, like 6 total in length. And that gives you more time to build up the money for that $40 drop in price, because you've already paid so much on the game already. I think if you really think about it, the $15 a month plus $40 in expansion, plus if you're someone who had to catch up on the game and all that, there's a lot of stuff players have put money on, and it feels kind of bad to me actually spending $40. Unless you buy the collector's edition, then you're spending more. So
which is what
especially since they've gone digital now, mostly. Like a lot of people buy digital, and that takes a lot less. You don't have to print the CDs, you don't have to create the boxes and all that, so that lowers the overhead anyway. So I think at the very least, the digital version needs to drop in price, especially if they're doing this. But it's kind of one of those things that just makes me kind of uneasy with the way they say it. But and also it says the team isn't happy with players having to wait a year for new content. And what I have to say to that is make the content while we're waiting. Make content while we're waiting that is engaging, interesting content, and we don't mind waiting. Just give us something to do. Like before, when there was the end of Mists, I think was one of them, where we waited forever for the new expansion. Why didn't they create a patch at that point saying, oh, it's going to take longer. Okay, we'll make a patch that has this cool content that can distract them for a little while. And part of that makes me wonder if that's because they're so far ahead in their planning process that they don't feel like they want to come back to the present. It's like, are you 5 expansions ahead and you don't want to just take a second and come back to the present and make a change? Like, stop development for a minute. You're ahead already. Let's stop development and make a content patch that the players actually want to distract them while we wait another 6 months for the expansion to drop. It's like, come on, Blizzard.
Right.
So a lot of this is worrying me about the future of the game. I'm wondering if they're reaching too far out as far as how far out they're working. I'm wondering if their plans are getting a little too greedy here. And I'm wondering if they need to stop for a minute and think about the direction they're going and maybe change things a little bit.
Long waits aren't something they ever want to do. The team is working on new expansions, and they weren't going to release until it's right quality level. I'm cool with them wanting to wait to release the expansion. As that, I actually prefer that. I prefer to, on launch day, not have issues like constantly being stuck in the air before you get to your garrison because the garrison area was down, which was an issue in the beta.
Yeah.
And that made it live. That's horrible.
Especially when they, like I said earlier, they always say they're one expansion ahead. So if you're one expansion ahead, why did you drop this expansion, which was full of bugs, obviously, because it went to beta with all these bugs, and then move on?
Right.
That's another reason why I think they're working too far ahead of themselves. Like, they're just getting ahead.
It makes me wonder, as a person who does do the betas, who loves being in the betas, I thoroughly enjoy it, if the feedback and the bugs I report in the beta are just shrugged off.
Yeah. Or is that feedback that they just bring into the next expansion?
Right? Or expansion number 47 is down the road.
It's like, oh, we've already had this expansion done. We're working on the next expansion, so we'll just take your feedback and apply it to the next expansion.
Right?
Oh, look, all the bugs from the beta are fixed in the next expansion. Yeah, but it has its own bugs that'll be fixed in a year. Yeah, I kind of wish they would release a video or something on their YouTube channel that kind of takes us through the day-to-day planning, like all the little tiny things. Like if they started releasing those kind of videos, that kind of fills us in on what they're actually doing there at Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to get something from them that kind of puts us at ease, letting us know that, hey, they are working on something and they're not getting too far ahead of themselves. Like, I would actually like to know exactly where they are in the development process, if there actually are like 3 expansions ahead or whatever.
Right.
And how do they do that? Do they just leave a team behind on the current expansion and then have another team going on the next expansion? Or what's the process there? And is it affecting the current expansion? Is the major thing, by being so far ahead.
Moving on to the garrison topics. Mage Tower felt unpowered for a long time, which is true. The complete naval missions isn't exactly what they wanted, but giving... Who's taking a Mage Tower? Seriously? Similar to about... Huh?
Until I read that, I actually forgot the Mage Tower existed.
I think I have on my warrior just for the little void.
While we wait for Mystic to get back. Mystic's breaker broke, so his power went out. So basically, you're stuck with me for right now till he gets back. Where's breaker? He kicked a breaker, according to this thing here. So I figured I would. It looks like his computer decided to be Windows. Something broke on his computer, so I'm just gonna have to finish things up. It'll take me a little minute to get the stuff up. Figure out where we were. All that shouldn't take too long. There it is. Okay. Oops. I believe we were on the last, so. We were on the dev interview, so. I believe we were on Garrett. Yeah. If I can figure that out. Window. Yes. One sec. I don't normally do this part that he does. Let's do that. We're good. Tower, we pretty much said what we had to say on the Mage Tower. Next one, similar battle pets. Followers don't need more levels. Followers are content themselves. So more content is I to them because mostly they're just drag and drop stuff. I don't really think anything more needs to be done to the followers, personally. Overall, the team is happy with garrisons. There are things that they would have done differently, though. And I really do hope that it's the right things that they should do differently that they're thinking about. I'm not sure if it is, but hopefully it is. Hopefully if they mention a lot of stuff here about wanting to bring stuff from garrisons over to whatever they plan next. And there are some things in garrisons that I feel were, for the most part, good. And on here, I kind of like the specific class legendaries, but again, I feel like specific class legendaries do cause some problems in formats like PvP nowadays. I film in raids and stuff, and that's really the main effect on PvE content is this raider wanted it, and that blah blah blah. But I don't mind them going back to that at some point. I do prefer the way they do it now, where everyone kind of has their own personal kind of responsibility towards their legendary. If they want their legendary, they do their own thing. The concept right now is to have an item that is updated with every patch, and then reward something really good at the end. Went through the expansion. If you managed to suffer through the entire expansion. There are a lot of things in the expansion I wish you didn't have. If you've managed to put in that kind of effort and all that to get the legendary, then I do feel like you have earned it and all that. I like that they give you a little something at the end of the expansion, and it seems like a good thing to me, and I agree with it. Earning legendary right now feels good, but it doesn't have the same feeling as the old legendary items. I agree with that. It is a good feeling to get a legendary, like the legendary cloaks were the same way the legendary ring is, and it is a good way to earn a legendary, but I kind of wish on the side they would give you another way to get a legendary, like actually get a drop or something, because those actually feel really cool when you get that legendary that's a legendary trinket or something. Went through the trouble of earning the legendary. I feel like it might as well be account bound. Why do you have to go through all that over and over and over again to get the legendary? Like maybe 2 ults and then it becomes account bound or something. I I don't really agree with every single alt having to go through such a long, extensive process. It's a fine process on your main, because on your main, you're going through it as it's happening. You're following the quest. You even stop when it comes to the stop points, where you have to wait till the next patch comes out. But when it comes to an alt, if you're just leveling that alt, like, say, right now, you have to go through the entire, like, yeah, it's accelerated, but you have to go through the entire thing step by step. So at the very least, I feel like there should be a way to make it easier per alt or something, but that's their opinion, and that's mine, so. Raids are not tuned around everyone having a legendary ring. I already kind of assumed that. The team has estimated how many people will have the ring on average, and when the raid comes out, then tune the raid around that. If the tuning is off, they can be hotfixed. I have no problems with that statement, really. Obviously, it's been the same for every time there's been legendaries out. They obviously aren't going to tune a raid towards those legendaries and assuming everyone has them. Even though technically in this expansion, if you're in a hardcore guild, everyone probably has them. Because min-maxing and all that. Wild Token has worked out well. It lets players with gold safely buy game time for gold, and players with extra money do no time safely purchase gold from other players. And I agree with that. I think the WoW token was a great idea, and it's a good way to get money in game, gold in game, money out of game. It neutralizes gold sellers just a little bit. Obviously, it doesn't eliminate them. It's almost impossible to eliminate them. They're like cockroaches, so they're gonna find new tricks probably to kind of seep in there again. But the WoW token, I do feel, kind of helps with that quite a bit. But obviously, it's an issue that's really hard to completely and totally annihilate. Mythic dungeons need a little bit of tuning, but overall the tuning is sufficiently challenging. I haven't done Mythic Dungeon, but if players recover quickly on the next podcast so he can give his input, but for right now, things up a little bit. And it kind of defeats the purpose of the last interview where they had that question whether Gul'dan was alive. And then this interview, they come and say, the team would love to do more things with Gul'dan in the future. Oh, well, so he is alive. Spoiler alert. So it kind of defeats the mystery purpose of that last answer in the other interview. So, I don't... Oh, and this is the current progression of Mythic difficulty for Hellfire Citadel. Method is number 1 at 7 and 13 bosses. Midwinter, number 2 with 6 to 13 bosses. Paragon, number 3 with 6 to 13 bosses. Same as it usually does. Method, Midwinter, Paragon, usually up. If you're interested in that, that's a little recover. And the one after that will be on the 6th. That's to work around in this podcast, and then it will do other topics that may have come up within the week. But after that, it'll be every other Thursday as of the 9th. So 9th, 23rd, 6th, so on and so forth. So, because the 23rd, I should be, for the most part, settled in Indiana, so I won't be here on the 16th. That's why we're doing that. So, anyway, Mystic says thanks for watching and goodbye and all that. He said to let you guys say no. He says goodbye. His computer's having problems right now. A breaker power went out. He might be a while being back up and running. But he will be here next week. Hopefully he'll be around tomorrow, day after, but because I gotta get co-op stuff done. So technical difficulty, especially with our computers. Hopefully we can end up getting jobs, get better computers, and this won't happen, but we'll see. At least power didn't go out in my house. It went out a few nights back, but that was a brownout. or whatever. California, right? But anyway, we will see you next podcast. And for the people watching that follow my channel, I will see you next video. Which, no particular schedule on when that will be, but I will try and get one out tomorrow. I will probably stream tomorrow. I'm planning on, if I do stream, to do Hearthstone, because that got a lot of views and good feedback and all that. So I'm probably going to stream Hearthstone because there's the new Tavern Brawl. I can't record it for the Thursday, so I definitely stream tomorrow, wake up and all that. But that's what I have on any streams or anything, nothing certain. This has been episode 9.